songs are simple twist of fate, overly complicated state of mind. So don't you tell me that I'm late, 'cause baby, everything I've loved I left behind. So I'll sit and wait behind the wheels of love tonight. That's alright. And it's a little too late for me to die young tonight. But that's alright. It's been a while since I've been straight enough to try. I need you more than ever now, and I don't know why. I left a good book by my bed to read it when I can, but on most nights I'm too drunk to even try. With my foot down to the floor, ignoring all the headlights passing by. And in a moment's time they're gone, along with all the friends who never heard goodbye. So I'll sit and wait behind the wheels of love tonight. But that's alright. And it's a little too late for me to die young tonight. But that's alright. It's been a while since I've been straight enough to drive. I need you more than ever now, and I don't know why. I left a good book by my bed to read it when I can, but on most nights I'm too drunk to even try. It's been a while since I've been straight enough to drive. I need you more than ever now, and I don't know why. I left a good book by my bed to read it when I can, but on most nights I'm too drunk to even try. But on most nights I'm too drunk to even try. Well, on most nights I'm too drunk even try.
Everyone, welcome to this week's Guitareo live lesson. If you don't know this gentleman next to me, this is Kyler Pierce, local singer-songwriter hero.
Hello, everybody.
Had to ask him to come out for this because I know so many of you members are talking about, like, how do I get to where I can write my own songs, or what are some things that will propel me into being able to write my own songs other than just playing G, C, and D.
Absolutely.
Right? Which sometimes is the best thing.
Yep. Simple is nice, but you know what? Like, it's nice to have some tools to, step outside of your standard just 3-chord progression pattern. I mean, there's a lot of great songs that are 3 chords or 4 chords, but to have a couple in the Rolodex in the back pocket, to mix things up is nice. Yeah.
The title of this lesson is Songwriting Tactics, which I think is a little formal for Kyler, just knowing him.
Formal.
But we're basically going to sit around and talk about songwriting and some of the ways he attacks, like, lyrics, chord progressions, ideas for songs. Because, like, this is not me, guys. I write play-along tunes. Kyler writes lyrics. I know a lot of you guys are like, how do you come up with your lyrics in the forums? And get your questions in early, because I already have a lot of questions from the forums that I'm going to ask at the end of this lesson. So you can either submit questions below the video in the members area.
Please, questions. Give me questions.
Cool. So, yeah, let's just jump right into it. And, like, I'm not going to say anything. You start.
Okay. Where do we start? With that song, I guess I like to think about songs in terms of like a structure and a pattern. If you start dissecting some really popular either pop hits from now and all the way back to the 50s, you start seeing a lot of patterns, things that reoccur throughout top 40 or the top hip hop or the top country or the top whatever. Like there's some consistency to it. There's a reason that people keep going back to the same formula because it works and it's catchy. It gets stuck in your head. Like that's realistically what we want is songs that mean something and people connect with. And I think that formula that they've figured out really helps with that. Really helps achieve some consistency where you hear a song that you've never heard and it connects with you. Beyond that, obviously, there has to be some depth to the song itself, the lyrics, the melodies. My biggest tip, we were mentioning this earlier, my biggest tip is go listen to the Beatles. You know?
And I was like, you know what? I can't argue with that as a biggest tip. I'm a really big Beatles fan. So
there's a lot of great bands like that, but the Beatles really accomplished a lot in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. You know what I mean? They had a lot going on there. That song, for instance, it's called Straight Enough to Drive, as it says many times throughout the lyrics, right? That's a simple title for it. It's easy to connect with there. That song is still following the basic structure of verse, pre-chorus, chorus. The chorus gets a little different there, starts to offshoot from there by adding a chord each time it rolls around. That was just something I inherently thought of doing, so you start thinking in the chorus, it's been a while since I've been straight enough to drive. You sit on the C there, and then the next time, miss you more than ever now, and I don't know why. And then you come down to the G. The third time around, it goes down to the F and rides on that F, or sorry, it's not F, I got the capo on here.
No,
but anyway,
the shapes,
yeah. The shape. Yeah. So, without the theory, you can just think about it that way with the capo, which I'm not a heavy theory guy. I like to think about songs in terms of the shapes as well. Like I'm a very pattern-oriented guy.
That's very encouraging,
right?
though, because a lot of people are like, I have to know all this theory to be able to write great songs.
You don't need, theory is great. Like I definitely use it. I use it, but I use my cheat sheets more than anything. You learn why things work, and then that's great. You know why they work. You don't need to stress about that. Just create some cheat sheets and start working from that. So, for an example, like I heavily use the major chord scale, and then I just rob chords from the parallel chord scale of that. So if I'm in the key of C, for instance, right, I've got the 1, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 diminished, 6 minor. So if you're starting from your C in a minor rather than a major, that opens up a whole bunch of new chords, but there's also a bunch of chords that are similar, right? So, that gives me access to say, like, if I come up to the 4 chord, I can now go 4 minor. That's a great little turnaround. You hear that in the Beatles all over the place, right?
And that the 4 chord in like C minor is a minor chord, so you're just borrowing that.
Exactly, just borrowing it. When I'm playing in C major, I'm just borrowing the 4 minor instead of the 4 major. That's those little things, just giving you a couple extra chords in your back pocket. I mean, for me, I always find strong turnarounds help just make the song come home in a way that's familiar enough for people. And, it might be cliched, but isn't the rest of the world cliched, right? So I don't like to overthink songwriting too much. I find finding a good, strong chord progression, even if it's just 1 and the 2 chord, And that 5 right there just turns it right around,
That's
right?
money.
Right,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. That right there is that's that Tennessee whiskey. It's the same progression, if
Exactly.
you will, right?
We were
Different
listening
key,
to that song right before you got here.
Yeah, it's a great song. What makes that song so great, I find, is not only the simplicity of the chords themselves, the simplicity of that progression. It's a strong melody, but there's conviction in the vocal, right? Like that's part of it. I like to really encourage all my songwriter friends when we get together, and strongly encourage all of you at home to go and find some other people that are keen on writing songs and get together. Share ideas. Don't hold them up to yourself. If you want to get better at it, challenge yourself. Step outside of your comfort zone. But one thing that I strongly recommend to all my songwriter friends when we get together is like, if you want to say something in your song, say it. Don't walk around, don't like beat around the bush, just get to it, because the more honest and the more personal it is, the more people connect with it, is my own opinion of it anyways. There's no right or wrong way to write a song, let's be honest, but there's something to be said about something that makes your stomach turn, right?
Can you, like, just sticking with, I'm going to come back to that in a second, but just sticking with the kind of the cheat sheet idea for chords, that was a really good example, like having the diatonic and then the minor four. Do you have another example? Because I know one of the questions in here, I'm going to give a little preview, is what non-diatonic chords can I use to make my song sound more interesting? Absolutely.
I mean, if you want to really challenge yourself, just start looking into modal interchange and start writing out these cheat sheets of, okay, I'm going to start, I'm going to write the chord scale from C, right? You're going to then start writing it out from like a minor, so it's like a Dorian C chord scale, right? And you'll find there's a lot of relating chords. Another quick one that I can reference right now is the three major right there, right? Just like those little things, just turnarounds. It's just nice and easy to use. I mean, adding sevens onto that just sweetens things up. But if you're just doing the singer-songwriter thing, maybe having the seven in there is your role. But in a full band thing, maybe that's a keyboard player's role. Maybe that's another guitar player's role.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to have some space in there. But I recommend just creating yourself some cheat sheets. Even just using the major chord scale will really, I mean, like, let's start with that, right? Start with getting yourself familiar enough with the major scale, using it in different keys. If, maybe you're a pattern guy like me and you want to rely on the capo a little bit to kind of speed up the process, find whatever the easiest process is for you to see results and follow through. Don't get hung up on it.
I think like the capo approach, especially singer-songwriter, especially if you're just singing in guitar, I think it sounds a little bit nicer for...
I mean, you can. There is something to be said about like changing the register without having the voices, your bar chord voices and things like that. There is something nice about being able to, hear it ring out there. I mean, it's a little more pronounced on, say, an acoustic guitar. You get more of that going on, but it's simple and they're cheap. Everybody's got one. You know what I mean? So use it.
A rubber band and a pin.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, that's if you don't know what Kyler's talking about here as far as diatonic chord scales, all that stuff, go in the members area and go to Music Theory 1 through 6. Go check those courses out. And by the time you finish those, you will know exactly what he's talking about. And you have that solid foundation so you can obliterate the rules.
Just start in C. Start in C, because you go to a piano, it's all the white notes, right? You don't have to worry too much. And then, challenge yourself. Try in a different key. You'll get familiar with where... you'll get familiar with the patterns of the fact, that it's, whole step, half step, like just it's consistent all the way through, right? So, but I don't step too far outside of that. I like to find my little turnarounds that are familiar to me, and I mean, obviously you want to challenge yourself bit by bit, but I find creating more content, creating more art, creating more songs is more satisfying to me. It makes me play more, so that then makes me challenge myself more, Don't get hung up on, I need to learn this quick arpeggio and spend all day doing it.
You can hire somebody to do that.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great guitar players. Not saying that's just not my bag.
Sure. He would hire me to do that. I don't know.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about just your process of, and that it can go wherever you want it to go. Like when you think I'm going to write a song, is it I'm sitting down to write a song, or are you just going about your business usually, and then you're like, I have inspiration? How does that work for you?
Hard part is I don't think there's any one way that works better than the other. There is a discipline about sitting down with the intent of writing a song and actually executing it. But I can't say that it's never happened where a melody gets in my head when I'm walking down the street, or, I was mentioning to you earlier before the cameras came on, the amount of times I've probably nearly crashed my car trying to get my phone out to voice notes, melody that's in my head. So
that seems to be the way the world's going today, as far as the singer-songwriters that I know. It's like voice memo. That's where everything starts.
Yeah. Get a journal. Start writing, writing lyrics down. Writing, if two words that rhyme or two words that really kind of make my stomach turn. Like there's something there that I hadn't heard, or I hear it in something in pop culture, some sort of reference, or just something that I'm feeling that day. I try to write it down, try to write everything down to reference later. Maybe you don't reference it later. Next thing you know, you've got a journal full of, random just 2 words. Yeah, exactly. But it's there if you need it, right? So in terms of my process, lately my process has been more of realistically sitting down thinking, I'm going to write a song today. I want to write something that makes people feel something. So maybe that day I'm feeling, pretty upbeat. Maybe, the first thing I'm going to do is maybe just kind of jam out a little rhythm that, gets me kind of grooving, right? Maybe it's something like that. And then what'll happen is, as I'm jamming that, I'll just start humming melodies and and just something will click. You just keep doing that sort of thing, and from there, maybe a word. Maybe you start just putting out random words. I know that that's a bit of a process in how pop music is written. They actually have people that come in and, maybe there's a song behind it. Maybe it's pop music and there's a beat, right? There's some sort of beat that's behind it. They'll actually hire somebody to come in that's good with melodies. So they come hum melodies and spit just random words that feel like they might fit in there. And then somebody comes in and writes a song around it.
Wow.
That's an actual process, like a proven process of how some of these songs are written. Maybe that's not your process. Maybe it is. But I find sitting down thinking, okay, I'm going to write something today, and actually pulling the trigger on it and following through is the strongest way to actually continually challenge yourself to do it.
Yeah, I'm not a songwriter. I don't consider myself a singer-songwriter. Sometimes I do it, but like one thing that I have heard from songwriters that I respect is like it's a muscle. You have to sit down and write a lot.
Exactly.
And just like consistently.
You're going to write some terrible songs. We've all written a lot of terrible songs, and then every once in a while there'll be one that really connects with you and really connects with the people around you. So I used to hold my songs to myself very closely. I'm guilty of that. I used to write songs, not do anything with them. I wouldn't even record them on my phone. I would just write out the lyrics and maybe some chords, not really have an idea what the rhythm was, like if I look back at it a month later, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this gibberish? So I've been there, and like maybe that's where you start. Maybe it's just writing things down and not revisiting them. At least you're starting somewhere, right? My biggest thing is just consistently do it. Just keep doing the writing process. Maybe one day it's starting with a vocal melody. Maybe one day it's starting with a poem that you wrote. Maybe one day it's starting with just tapping. You got a groove, and that becomes a song. There's a lot of great songs out there that are, based around the rhythm. So.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier. How hip hop and R&B is heavily relying on rhythm nowadays, and it's like in the forefront.
It's seeping into pop music in every genre now. You find the vocal melody having this great hip hop sort of rhythm, and that's why it's catchy. I mentioned a particular song to you before the cameras came on. It was this James Barker band song, Chills. I'm not a country guy.
Yeah.
I'm not and I turned on the radio by accident, and sure enough, this song comes on, and then it's stuck in my head all day. Just kind of deconstructing that song, which is a great process, by the way, too. Taking the song, breaking it into sections. Yeah, maybe it's verse, chorus, or verse, pre-chorus, chorus, figuring out what the structure is. Anyways, after deconstructing the song, I realized that the one thing that really caught my attention was the rhythm of the vocal melody. It's strong. And that vocal melody itself is strong, but the rhythm behind it, I find, was stronger. So. Yeah, no right or wrong way. It's just find the things that you latch onto and rob them, if you will.
One thing that's continually going through my mind here is like if I were the kind of person that was aspiring to be a singer-songwriter, I know exactly what would happen. I would say to myself, I would have an idea, and I'd be like, "That's stupid," and I wouldn't act on it.
I do that all the time, but then I realized, you know what? What's stupid to me, somebody else may like, or maybe it is bad. Who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows?
I know I come up with bad stuff all the time, but challenging yourself to figure out why it's bad or why you don't like it, I think that's more of a discipline that we all need to work on as songwriters and as musicians, is really trying to understand what it is about those particular lines. Maybe it's a melody, or you're trying to write a hook and it's not catching in your head. What is it about it that's not, that's really not latching on? And then referencing other songs that are. There are some incredible songwriters out there, and there's great books out there. There's great material out online. There's just a mountain of information for us to use. And the biggest resource we have is music. Just listen to the music and take what you can from it and use it yourself. I mean, you got to remember that melodies are the things that you can't steal, right? It's a copyright.
Right.
You can't take somebody else's melody. You can't take somebody else's words. Chord progressions, on the other hand, chord progressions are fine. So there's a lot of songs that have the same chord progression, and they change the melody up. Maybe that's the starting point for you, is saying, hey, I want to write a song like this CCR song. And you take that chord progression, change the rhythm up a little bit, start. You know, maybe it's not a song that's going to make you $1 million or something, but you've written a song, and there's a huge satisfaction behind that.
Yeah, and I would say don't count yourself out and just think, it's stupid. It might not be. You might just be really critical of yourself.
Absolutely.
So don't sell yourself short. And if this is something that you want to do, like, actually just go ahead and dig in and get started.
Exactly. That's it.
I was going to say, like you said, you can't copyright chord progressions. I got a YouTube strike because I uploaded a live lesson here with a 12-bar blues in it.
Really?
Yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, obviously it was resolved, but it's
12-bar
like, nope, somebody
blues.
used that progression. No kidding.
No kidding. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, every band under the sun used that progression.
I just thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, that's great.
So do you have one or two more songs for us?
Yeah, I can do another one here for you. Do you want to play
can you do song, question, song?
Absolutely.
Because I think people just like to hear your tunes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll just kind of introduce the song a little bit first, because obviously there's more to the songs than just the chord progression, the melody.
Right.
This song, I was on the road with a band called No Sinner. We were in Europe, and we started the tour out in Spain with a week off in Barcelona. It was a great time, and me and the keyboard player, everywhere we went, we just kept looking at each other, cheersing each other, saying, you know what, we're just never going to leave this place. We didn't want to finish the tour. We wanted to just stay in Spain and hang out in the sun. And I mean, at the same point, I was kind of going through some stuff back home and missing some people back home. So that all references in there. It's a song. Songs have to be personal to you. Tell a story. You know, make people feel something. Hopefully. And one more thing about this one, I guess, too, which I'd like to reference is putting a specific place and time in the imagery of the song. I find that very, very strong in terms of making people connect with it. If you tell somebody, hey, this song is in the place, this street corner at this particular time of night, boom, you're in that space.
I just thought of like 3 songs, and I've never thought of that before.
Exactly, and it's just something that I caught on to after listening to a lot of this artist named Jason Isbell. He's an incredible songwriter, sort of Americana sort of thing, but he's very specific with his times and place and the imagery, and I find that that's something that I am constantly working on, is trying to make that a strong suit in the song. You know. So anyways, this one's called Barcelona.
Barcelona, drinking cheap wine at the cafe on the corner. You know, the people here are just so goddamn proud, and I
I'm just thinking about what you're thinking about. I could buy you boots of Spanish leather, even though I know we could never be together. Found a girl to help me drink away my nights. Driving after dark with no headlights. Barcelona ain't never gonna leave you. Tell my friends I ain't coming home. Barcelona, I'll be good to you. Tell my folks I can go it alone. All right. It's 6 a.m. and the church bells fill my head, and I'm waking up in someone else's bed. Still too drunk to be making up my mind on all the things I've gone and left behind. Well, I could write you letters every day of all the things that we never got to say, but the stars are out, and boy, they shine so bright. And I fell in love with Barcelona nights. Barcelona ain't never gonna leave you. Tell my friends I ain't coming home. Barcelona, I'll be good to you. Tell my folks I can go it alone. Barcelona ain't never gonna leave you. Tell my friends I ain't coming home. Barcelona, Barcelona.
Awesome, man. Cool. Well, I got some questions for you here from the members. And I think you've pretty much answered in one form or another, but just to reiterate them, and maybe there's some things that didn't quite get answered. We'll go ahead and go through that. The first one is from Dave PL48, and he says, do you start with lyrics first or melody first?
Generally myself, I'm a melody guy.
Okay.
Yeah, lyrics, I might have a rough idea of kind of what I want to say or a motif, like some sort of theme to it.
Yeah.
But melody for me is always stronger right off the hop. And that's different for everybody. I've got some friends, some songwriter friends that they just write lyrics. They just write them all day long without melodies in their heads. But for me, I'm definitely a melody first kind of guy. I like to think of melodies that are strong enough that, you know, if you sit down at a piano and you tap out that lead vocal melody with one finger on the piano, instantly that associates to that song.
Right.
So you can, you know, walk into any music store and you see somebody with a easy or a big note piano book or something playing, you know, top 40 hits. They're just hitting that one vocal melody and you know instantly what song it is.
Right.
So it's strong. So that's myself though.
Cool. That works. I know some people are the opposite, so
Yeah.
just like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question is from PMCD. I don't know how to say that. It's just an odd username. Anyway, one of the members in the members area. When you write a song, do you write the guitar, lead, rhythm, and bass, and others write the music for the other instruments, or do you write it all? Also, let's see. Sorry, let me scroll down on this. Also, is there a standard layout or structure like verse, bridge, chorus?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's something we haven't touched on too much is like that sort of process.
Yeah.
For myself, I try to get an idea of, a style, like stylistically what maybe the bass or the drums are going to do. I dabble a little bit in those instruments. I'm lucky enough to have a space where I have those instruments set up at all times and I can, cut a quick demo on there. But I try to not get too far into it. I'll use my instincts, use my gut feeling of this is what I'm hearing right now. And I'll lay that down and send it to guys. I'm very privileged to be able to play with some incredible musicians in town here. I'm like absolutely blessed to be able to play with these guys. So I let them use what my gut instinct told me, and then they can dissect it. So I recommend people, challenge yourself, but also put yourself at the mercy of the people around you too. Like don't let somebody else's critique hurt your feelings. Just move on, move forward, right? So maybe you have a bass player that you play with that's an incredible bass player, a keyboard player or something that comes up with an idea that challenges you, what you instinctually did. Don't let that set you back. Just move forward with it. Maybe their idea is great. Yeah. So I try to not write all the parts. I try to, like I said, just get a general sense of what those instruments might be doing and then move on from there. Sorry, what was the second?
Song structure. Do you have like a set thing that you do?
Yeah, I never use a completely set song structure. Like I said, analyzing some of your favorite songs is a good way to start. Yeah, maybe you want to write a song similar to, I don't know, Love Me Do by the Beatles or something. Right? Maybe you want to do something like that. Take that song, figure out, is it verse, first, pre-chorus, chorus? Is it verse, chorus, whatever? Throw a bridge in there, that sort of thing. So there is a pretty common structure, which would be something along the lines of verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, and then come back to a chorus, or a pre-chorus into a chorus and then out, right? A bridge does make things very sweet, just having that extra, that little lift, right? That change in there. Maybe it takes something that felt up and happy and puts this sorrow into this one moment, or maybe it takes a sad song and makes it even darker for that minute. All those little things. It just gives you the ability to step outside. Like that last song, that bridge there, the whole song is a very major, right? And then the bridge coming with the A minor, right?
Yeah.
But for me, a bigger thing than having a bridge per se or focusing on that, I'm all about dynamics. I want things to lift and I want them to drop. And I think that, you've done something right when you're performing for somebody and then, you have a drop like that or a big lift and then it stops and people turn and look at you, They're like, oh, what happened there? They can't quite put their fingers on it, but yeah. So that's kind of my process. I don't generally have a set structure, but I do take from songs that I really enjoy and try to dissect why I like them and if it's the structure that does it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it is. Oftentimes it's, that song's cool because they cut out the pre-chorus, or maybe they did a verse, chorus, and then an extra tag at the end with some cool. This for the stuff I'm writing is very kind of folk Americana driven, that sort of thing. You might be writing really cool riff rock stuff. You might be doing blues. You never know, right? There are very common patterns in all those genres, though. So take your favorite songs and just rip them apart. And biggest thing for me, the reason I started songwriting was because I decided I got bored of just learning other people's songs. I spent a decade straight just learning people's songs, playing in cover bands, things like that. So that kind of gave me a bit of a leg up where I thought, I can do this. And I'm sure all of you out there can do this.
Yeah, you had a big vocabulary at the time you started writing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd been playing in pubs and cover band gigs for, close to a decade before I decided to really pursue songwriting as something that I got a lot of enjoyment out of. So there's no like, oh, you're too old for this or you're not good enough for this. Just take your favorite songs and start tearing them apart. That's my biggest, approach to it.
Okay. This question was not asked yet, but I know people are going to ask it in the archives because they almost on a daily basis I get this question. Do I have to use a pick? And I know that we're talking about dynamics.
Over the map.
And that's a great example though, because you just played a song with a pick, and the first song you played no pick.
Yeah.
And it's two different sounds, right?
Oh yeah,
two
absolutely.
Different feels.
I find myself oftentimes too. I'm really bad for this, but it also helps me a lot. I'll be playing with a pick, and then all of a sudden, I'll.
Yeah.
I grip it, right? I got a bit of a weird thing going on there, but I generally mix it up. I've always got a pick in my hand, but I'm not always using it. That's a big one for me. So no, you don't have to. There's no right or wrong, and no, you don't have to. If you're going to be finger picking, use the Travis picking technique or anything like that. Just practice to a metronome until the cows come home. Until it's ingrained in your head, and when you're walking down the street, everything is a metronome.
For sure.
And then just play.
Awesome. A couple more little questions here that are kind of long. I'm gonna try to condense them. These are from the forums from Guitareo. This one says, where do I start? I'm really struggling with writing lyrics and melodies, mainly because I'm not a singer. I also have difficult or hard time writing music on my own, and everything I also try sounds boring. See, I think you're prejudging yourself there. And I really want to move beyond just writing chord-based music and more riff-driven music, but find riffs also difficult.
Yeah. If you're in the riff-based world, then look to the greats. Look to the guys like Tony Iommi, right? Like every cool riff that's ever been written has already been written by him. So, I've heard that. I think it was Rob Zombie that said that. But just look to those greats and just take those, learn their riffs, find out what it is that you like about them. Maybe you can alter that. Maybe you can extend it, shorten it down. These sorts of things where you're taking from what's already there, right? Don't ever count yourself out just in the first, this sounds boring.
Right.
A lot of the music I play, people find boring. Oh well, whatever. It's my music. I enjoy it. So don't count yourself out there. But vocals and melodies, I find, get a chord progression. Like even if it's not chord-based music, it's still based around a key and chords. There are changes in there. There's going to be, maybe you're going from the 1 to the 2, and maybe it's not about strumming, but maybe it's some sort of riff. You've got something going on there. But just find a chord progression that you're going to use, and then play melodies that get stuck in your head. Just keep playing guitar until I find that's a strong way for me, actually, is when I'm playing guitar, I'll maybe use a loop pedal, play a little chord progression, maybe it's a 3-chord progression. And then if there's a melody that's in my head that, or I play by accident, I'll revisit that and hum that out and maybe write words to that. That's a good starting point. That's how I started writing songs kind of in the first place, was stealing melodies from my guitar playing. Maybe I'm doing something. Maybe you're doing something like that, right? Like just things that click in your head, and just put them down. Just keep writing. I don't know how to actually go off of that other than just keep doing it, right? Yeah. Keep doing it and keep challenging yourself. Maybe one is better than the other. Maybe the first thing you write sucks. Maybe the first thing you write's great. Just keep challenging yourself with it. But
one of the singer-songwriters that I really like, he said, I'm not so much a songwriter, but a song quilter, because he always kept records and started working on things, and eventually he had enough where he put them together. He's like, this is a great song. Yeah. Right? So don't keep records of your lyrics. And another thing you want to do is do you have a friend who's really good with writing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I reach out to a lot of my spoken word poet friends, and I reach out to a lot of other people outside of the genre that I'm writing. I reach out to people that are in visual arts. I started to realize a little while ago that all these people that are creative are creative in more than one way. So don't ever just say, "Oh, these lyrics suck." I only showed them to my best friend who, his hobby is playing video games or something, right? Mm-hmm. Like maybe your other musician friends, maybe you're all kind of at the same point and you're just, your first year in and you're trying to write songs, but you're finding limitations. Surround yourself with a few other people. Maybe shoot some lyrics out or shoot some demos out to people that aren't in your immediate circle of friends, or maybe they're other musicians, maybe they're other artists. That's a big one for me, was when I started speaking to poets about lyrics. They challenged me. They're ruthless. So yeah, don't just hole them up. Put them out there. And with the internet, I mean, you can put with Bandcamp and MySpace and Spotify. I mean, MySpace is dead, right? But
I mean, there's still people that
anyways,
use that, right?
There's lots of resources to just put your music out there and see what the response is.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's it for the questions. You have another song for us?
Yeah, sure. I can do another one for you.
Thanks for tuning in. And again, I posted a thread in the forums about this topic, so if you have any questions at all, you can post them in there, or even go there to start collaborating if you don't have any other, pardon the pun, but forum to do that with. That's a great spot to do it too.
And if anybody out there wants to shoot some songs to me personally, I'd love to, let you know some ideas that I may have, or critique, or anything like that.
Great.
I don't know if there's a way to put my email up there.
I'll create you an account. And,
sure. It's but yeah, thanks for having me, Nate.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming out. Cool.
Of October, I've been anything but sober. I'm packing light, learning to sleep alone. And I rang you once or twice, this broken heart's as cold as ice. But you're never there to pick up the telephone. And I will call your name when alcohol hits my brain and my heart. And if I start to fall again, well, I hope you never hurt me at all. The life that I can't stand is of the lonely-hearted man. There's nothing here that can't be left behind. And the life I've been living down is probably why you don't come around. But I called to say that you've been on my mind. And I will call your name when alcohol hits my brain and my heart. And if I start to fall again, well, I hope you never hurt me at all. Waiting on and on, I know I left this far too long. But now you sit 1,000 miles away, and you won't feel a thing, even when I start to sing of all the things I called you up to say. And I will call your name when alcohol hits my brain and my heart. And if if I start to fall again, well, I hope you never hurt me at all. I will call your name when alcohol hits my brain and my heart. And if I start to fall again, well, I hope you never hurt me at all.